The 2023 IndyCar finale at Laguna Seca was absolute chaos, and in this video I'm going to break down the full extent of the mayhem. As once all was said and done, race control ended up dishing out not 5, not 10, but 17 different penalties over the course of the race, and had to deploy the full course caution on 8 separate occasions. All of this led to McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown to say that this race had, quote, some of the most amateur driving I've ever seen, and even going as far as to call for, quote, an additional penalty system to discourage this type of driving. Combine all that with an intense and unpredictable battle for the win, and you have what I would call the most entertaining race of the 2023 season. But before we look at the race itself, we must look at the factors leading into the race that made it so primed for chaos in the first place. The first of which being that Laguna Seca had just received a fresh repave just a few months prior to this race, which dramatically changed the track conditions. Online, cars were absolutely flying, setting lap times over 6 seconds faster than the year before on a track that has a lap time of just over a minute. However, offline it was a different story, as the freshness of the tarmac meant that little to no rubber was laid down offline by the time the green flag fell on Sunday, causing drivers to describe going offline as similar to hitting a patch of ice. There's also the fact that IndyCar decided to move the restart zone from the main straight to the small straight before turn 11. This meant that drivers could now go for a move into the turn 11 hairpin on restarts, which, as you'll see later, led to all kinds of dramas on restarts as drivers clawed to gain positions all the way throughout the field. The final contributing factor to the wreckfest that would ensue is that, after all, this was the final race of the season. The championship had already been decided, and for most drivers, all that was left to race for was a win to add to their resume. But with that out of the way, let's get right into the start of this race, as it did not take long for chaos to ensue.
This is the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey, and already several cars out of their respective columns, like Colton Herter was way out wide, trying to grab positions at the line as Rosenquist leads the field down into the Andretti hairpin.
We've seen side by side and 1 and 2 before, but there's contact. Scott McLaughlin looks like Newgarden. I see lots of cars involved. Yuri Vips.
2 of the 3 Team Penske Chevys are off.
So an absolutely ridiculous amount of contact in the first couple turns there that would leave 6 cars in the gravel and many more needing work in the pits. Now luckily, most of the cars involved in this incident were able to continue on in the race, but many ended up being 1 or more laps down after receiving their extensive service in the pits. The first 3 penalties would also be dished out as a result of this incident, with 2 of them being for avoidable contact, but more on that a little later. This incident would, however, set us up for an awesome restart, as many quicker cars would be shuffled down the order, creating a situation ripe for action as we went back to green, but it wouldn't be long until we saw our next caution.
Opportunity of the season for a win. Here we go, green flag, so Rosenquist gets the jump in that papaya and light blue McLaren Chevy through the final turn, stretching their legs up the hill.
Move from Canapino, diving on the inside of turn 11 to see a little bit of side-by-side action here now through turn 2. Rosenquist with a nice jump up front, though, over Palou.
Oh, look at McLaughlin in the yellow and white car. He is anxious to get back to the front. That was a bold move inside 3.
And it worked. It worked really well.
Tire compounds on the side of your screen there as a pass down the inside into turn 5 on Benjamin Peterson. That was Marcus.
Oh!
Contact!
Benjamin Peterson got all kinds of sideways and had to check up, and McLaughlin got right into the back of him. Not McLaughlin's fault.
Here they go through the corkscrew. Di Francesco up at the front. Palou, turn 11. He's hassling race leader Felix Rosenquist. The champion wants another win. Inside move by Palou on Rosenquist. They hit, and Fro is off the track. Palou takes the lead. Palou says, I want a 6th win on the season. You know the last guy to do that? The driver chasing him. Will Power back in 2011.
A lot of things going on as the caution flag. Joseph Newgarden. Looks like maybe out of turn 4.
So not even 2 laps in after the restart, and we would see our second caution of the race, and this time it would be Joseph Newgarden who spun it on his own. But this incident is an excellent example of just how little grip there is offline. When you look closely, you can see on corner entry, Joseph's right side tires are off the racing line. He realizes he's entering the corner a little bit shallow and opens his steering slightly to compensate. However, this causes just a little bit of understeer on corner exit, but it is just enough to put his left side tires off the racing line. And at that point, he gets on throttle and suffers a massive snap of oversteer and is unable to reel it back in with just how little grip that there is there. Just a few laps later and we would be ready to go back to green flag racing. This time Palou leading the way and Will Power in second. But Power would immediately start getting swamped by the McLarens with him on that alternate tire, and for some reason that alternate was just not working on this restart. But remember those penalties from lap 1 that I mentioned earlier? Well, later on this lap we would get this news.
How Dixon's going in.
It's a penalty. 45 and the 9 have been penalized. That is Scott Dixon and Christian Lundgaard.
We have a drive-through penalty, but we need to serve it now. Avoidable contact, whoever that was that you hit there in turn 2. You're kidding me. That's exactly what we said. Let's just go through the pit lane.
So as you heard there, Scott Dixon super fired up on the radio as a drive-through penalty is going to destroy your race 99% of the time and take you out of contention. And he was certain he did not do anything wrong. So let's take another look here at the footage and I'll let you guys decide what you think.
I think Colton Herta might have caused the incident. Watch Dixon, and Colton Herta's in the black, white, and yellow car right here. Back of VK.
No, I think Scott gets loose, and that's what clips the front of Colton. So, man, that's a tough one.
Leave your thoughts on that situation down in the comments, but at any rate, the race must go on, and at this stage, it was Alex Palou firmly in the lead. That wasn't until Helio Castroneves decided he had seen just about enough of Alex Palou winning and decided to try and take matters into his own hands.
Here we go, coming out of 2, way wide, just offline, like we said, it's so slippery, around he goes.
Looked like the Wolf of Wall Street trying to get home in the Lambo because it gets sideways again in the next corner.
In the next corner, he keeps it running. You see Benjamin Peterson in that red car coming up now. Clearly has, he's on track. He has the right. Elio being a little bit cheeky, trying to force the issue there, and it ends up with him going off again.
Yeah. Watch this.
Crucially, right in front of our race leader.
Here we go. Alex Palou's like, hey, I'm here.
So after Helio Castroneves got done giving his impression of the most sane individual in an iRacing lobby, it was about time for our next caution, and that's what we would get on lap 29.
There's the orange and blue McLaren as he gets hit by Marcus Ericsson.
And the tire's down, and then the 8 spins because he goes offline. The left rear of Felix Rosenquist in the orange and blue car is down. Both cars still running. The yellow flag. Oh no! Ericsson punching the steering wheel. Looks like he stalled it.
His tire get cut down. Oh no!
It got cut when Marcus hit him.
When he hit him, and then he didn't really know the full extent of it. And now he does.
Oh, you hate to see it if you're a Rosenquist fan, and I think it's safe to say that Marcus Ericsson getting into the side of Rosenquist there is definitely one of the things that had Zak Brown so fired up after this race and caused him to make some of those statements. But with the caution coming out here, many drivers would opt to come down pit lane for a stop. Some of them would do a better job than others. But after the AMR safety team got everything cleaned up, it would be on lap 36 that we would be ready to go racing again, but it wouldn't last for long.
The newly crowned champ defending his victory here at this track of a year ago. Will Pato O'Ward get that elusive victory of 2023? Christian Lundgaard had another one. Look at Grosjean in the yellow and red DHL Honda. His last drive for Andretti. He'd love to get his first IndyCar win, and Peterson has gone around. That's affected one of the Hulko's Hollinger cars. I think it's Ilon.
Caution is out as the 55.
Oh, Ferrucci. That's a strange place to go off at very high speed.
So, just as quick as the caution went away, it would be right back out, but it wouldn't be long until we were ready to re-rack them and send them again. And that's what would happen on lap 41, but this time we would see some incredible action at the sharp end of the field.
We're back to racing. Green is the call from race control. Down the front stretch. How close is O'Ward? Look at Grosjean in the Andretti Honda, the DHL machine. Is there a big move here for position?
defensive position from the number 10, but now Grosjean trying to go around the outside in that yellow and red machine.
That sets you up for the next turn, but he's gone too far. Augustine Canapino is there to pounce.
Pato O'Ward looking pretty defensive, and Canapino is in third.
Canapino is running legit third. We talked about that Rookie of the Year battle. He's not going to pull it off there. That's a tough spot into sixth.
There, we just...
Look out, look out, look at Grosjean! Up the inside, and so too
how about
Ferrucci.
Ferrucci, you couldn't put a piece of paper between his right sides and Devlin DiFrancesco. Canapino is legit. He has great pace. Oh, look at Scott Dixon now on his teammate Marcus Ericsson. But that's Scott Dixon on chaotic days, like we've had already at Laguna Seca, Kevin, Scott Dixon, you can never count him out. He's had a penalty. He's had to make unscheduled pit stops. He is flirting with the top 10 already at half distance.
So after having to serve that drive-through penalty, Dixon is now up to 11th place. And you can see this same kind of thing throughout the field. Everything is so mixed up. Drivers have been changing positions constantly. And the only real constant that we've seen throughout this race is Palou leading. Will that stay the same? We'll have to see. But it wouldn't be too much longer until we would get our 5th caution of the day. And this time the yellow would have major implications for the drivers contesting this race win.
In the window, as we see, Will Lucas, he's off. Devlin DiFrancesco in the blue car.
Doesn't need this. Palou needs to get in if Malukas gets stuck.
This could really fall into O'Ward's hands.
Hey, Palou has already gone past pit road, guys. But O'Ward is on pit road in time. If this winds up being a caution, this could flip it for Pato O'Ward and Arrow McLaren, still looking for their first win.
No.
And if that is the caution, huge break for Pato O'Ward, and everyone here in the 10 pit just kind of pounds their fist, saying, man, that was an opportunity missed.
This also really helps Armstrong and Dixon because now they're going to get great mileage to extend themselves into the final stop. Lap 58. So that means there are 37 laps to the finish. It's an awkward situation for Pato O'Ward because he's going to need a lot of yellow to make it to the end without stopping.
So here's how it happened. This was down in turn 2. Devlin DiFrancesco on the outside there, crowding Lucas on the inside, side by side into 3. What happens here? Oh, Dev just loses the rear as soon as he touches the brakes.
Another example of just being offline and being caught out by the lack of grip when you're not on the rubber groove of the track.
But after Devlin DiFrancesco would get done doing Devlin DiFrancesco things, it would be time for the pits to open under this 5th caution of the day, and Callum Ilott decided that he would join in on the fun as well.
Kyle Kirkwood, I believe. Watch, Kirkwood comes around. I think Kirkwood stops.
No, he stopped. I think...
no, here's Kirkwood's coming. Watch, wait. Watch to the bottom.
Yeah, he just comes to a stop. I think Callum Ilott just lost it on his own on the power.
We saw, I think it was Rossi earlier. Look at the thumbs up from Kirkwood. Not too thrilled about this.
Hey, what are you doing there, Callum?
So after everybody got pointed the right direction again, it would be time to get going. This time, O'Ward from Armstrong, from Dixon, and we would see some absolutely biblical scenes on the restart.
Get ready because we got 34 more laps to keep bringing the action. As Pato O'Ward in the Arrow McLaren Chevy is at the front with young Marcus Armstrong right behind and Scott Dixon looking to make a move. Look at this, almost 4 wide into the final turn.
That's not going to work, guys. There's contact behind. There's Ferrucci. No, such a good result on the cards. A broken front wing. The 6th team top Blomqvist to stop. Surely another yellow is coming.
Bring out
and there it is.
Most common color of the day.
So now the 6th caution of the day, and just look at the scenes on this restart. Grosjean in particular in the yellow car making some insane moves. Just absolute chaos every time they go into that restart zone. But now let's take a look at the pit stops that would occur under this caution.
Let's show you, here you go.
Green car is Armstrong. He was ahead of Dixon on that alternate strategy. The number 9 comes to his box. It's going to be close between the teammates. This race team, excellent on pit lane. They launch Dixon. Watch the green car, Armstrong. And good old Dixie Dust sprinkling.
How about that? So a day that has had penalties, controversial calls for him, increased temperature from the 6-time champion and frustration. and he's just put himself and his team yet again in a magical position to potentially win this race.
But now it's time to go racing again. Let's see if it'll be any cleaner than the last restart.
Ward with a clear track ahead, his teammate behind him has to pit here sometime soon. Grosjean will be on the attack against his old teammate on the inside. Grosjean pounces. Forceful move early, that was opportunistic, and lights it up, and there's more collisions.
Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to go through as well, but it's chaos in the back. That's the Hy-Vee Honda. Oh man, we see Marcus Ericsson and Marcus Armstrong, who was one of those leaders on that other strategy, and now the yellow is out.
So the answer to that is a firm no. But before we go to the next restart, let's take a look at how the pit stop strategies are playing out at this point.
If we assume that these front runners aren't going to be able to make it, and Scott Dixon is the best of the cars that have pit, it'll be a Dixon-Herta-McLaughlin power shootout for the win after all the drama those drivers have had today. And there is Rocket Kevin Blanche fueling the pace car.
Yes, it's been that kind of day, folks. 7 cautions for 27 laps. Even the Honda Civic Type R needed a little bit of extra gas.
And after getting that pace car good and refueled, it was time to go racing again, and this time, IndyCar would deliver us what is, in my opinion, one of the most action-packed laps I have ever seen in my time watching racing. Check it out.
Watch that yellow and red car in second. As Kevin just said, watch Grosjean, because he will want to finish his time, and Andretti with a victory.
Green, green, green.
Not quite close enough to Award. Here goes the teammates around the outside. Callum Ilott and Augustine Canapino. And I think Dixon hit Palou, his teammate. Palou got all squirrely for the lead of the race. Romain Grosjean gets Award.
Not saving fuel there, is he? That's a great move as the teammates among those others side by side, slight contact.
So Dixon sneaks through. That's huge for Scott Dixon. Now he's going to work on Devlin DiFrancesco, and he'll get around.
Devlin having that shifting problem. If he's in emergency mode, he's having to lift off the throttle every time he pulls the paddle. Very distracting for a driver, and a huge time loss as well, as there's now a bit of a parking lot back here. Felix Rosenquist dropping wheels off a 4.
Regains it now, gets back on track. Look at this. The mad scramble is on. DiFrancesco with a wounded car. McLaughlin now whips up the inside of Alex Palou. McLaughlin and Dixon are on the same strategy, so he's trying to go with his countryman as that Honkos Hollinger Chevy is in trouble.
That's Callum Ilott, believe. I wonder if he has a cut tire from contact earlier or other body damage, but Callum Ilott well slow now as Palou tries to get around. So you've got Grosjean trying to be the rabbit, trying to get away and open up a gap for his final stop. Pato O'Ward trying to do the same thing. But Scott Dixon in a dramatic day on track, once again in the catbird seat.
His peers say, how does he do it? How does Dixon do it? Well, you've watched today. Consistency, resilience, fuel economy, patience. Yes, he got angry. Yes, he let his temper get the better of him, but look out!
Oh,
look out! Herta and Castro Neves. Elio continues. Herta does not.
Caution.
Again, this is number 8.
So there on lap 21, the 8th and final caution would come out, and in that caution, both Grosjean and O'Ward would have to pit, putting Dixon into the lead of the race, and at this point, nobody could catch him, and Dixon would drive away for another outstanding victory in IndyCar and his 3rd on the season. If you guys want a deeper dive into just how Dixon pulls off these impossible comeback drives, click the video on screen now, and I will see you guys in the next one.